My name is Michael Mick Woolman. I'm a middle-aged married man in my mid-40s. My dear wife, Marion, is 2 years younger than me. We have a daughter, Julia, who is 16, and a son, Melvin, who is 14. When it all started, we were still a typical Scandinavian middle-class family. Good job, comfortable home. We didn't have any real problems until things went wrong. It was a cool Thursday in November. I got the flu and decided to stay in bed. But my wife, Marion, who started work half an hour later than me, felt fine and went to the bathroom to take a shower. I was surprised that she took her clothes with her to change right there. What was even more surprising was that she locked the door. I became curious and went to the kitchen to get a tool that could be used to open the door from the outside if the kids accidentally locked themselves inside. I waited a couple of minutes after I heard the shower water turn off and opened the door. The scene in the bathroom was amazing. Marion was dressed in obviously new, very sexy black lace lingerie and stockings that I had never seen before. I asked, "Why this new sexy outfit? Why are you changing clothes here? Hiding? Do you have a lover?" She froze for a moment, concern appearing on her face, before she answered, "Don't be stupid. You know that after work Lena and I go to the mall for our monthly shopping, which can take a couple of hours." Feeling terrible about the flu, I responded sharply, "That secret sexy outfit for clothes shopping. Isn't it more suitable for a woman who sells something without wearing clothes?" Now she got angry and shouted, "Are you accusing me of being a woman of easy virtue?" "I'm not accusing you of anything," I said. "I just noticed that today, for some reason, you're dressed like a woman of easy virtue." She continued screaming, "How do you even know how women of easy virtue dress?" "Ronnie Skoog was bragging about his exploits in the pub," I replied. The door slammed so hard that I realized that our marriage was under serious threat. Ronnie Skoog was her ex-boyfriend, and while he was doing a great job as a union leader, Marion sometimes said in her heart that she regretted leaving him because he cheated on her. But after Ronnie was fired and divorced for using his union credit card at expensive clubs while traveling internationally, mention of him was no longer welcome in our house. However, I noticed a strange expression on her face when she froze for a moment, and I realized that my question had struck a chord with her. I decided to get to the bottom of this and began investigating in our home office, where Marion paid bills and kept them in neat folders. It took me a while to spot a few hints that something was wrong. There was nothing unexpected on our shared Visa card, but when I checked the bills from her personal account, I found strange details. Although Marion and Lena usually went shopping once a month, always on the Thursday in the middle of the month, the purchases were actually made the day or several days before these Thursday trips. The climax was what I discovered. On one of these days, she was filling up her car at the Q8 station, 25 kilometers from our city. What could have brought her there? There were no shops or cafes for truckers in that area. The only reason could be due to a visit to one of the small houses for rent at this gas station, which are rented by tourists, sellers, and perhaps lovers due to the low prices compared to a hotel. I was sure that Marion was cheating on me by pretending to go shopping, but I didn't have direct evidence. The gas bill wasn't enough to warrant a divorce, at least not yet. I decided to wait until after the Christmas and New Year holidays and use that time to find out who she was dating. However, I decided to have a little fun with her during today's shopping trip. The liquor store in the shopping center closed at 6 in the evening, and I called Marion on her cell phone at 20 minutes past 5. She answered after several rings in a worried voice. "Did something happen?" "Yes, it happened. You're at the mall, right?" "Of course, I'm there. Why are you asking?" "Because I need one favor." "What store are you in now?" She answered less worriedly. "In HM." "And what?" "Because I need cognac for my flu." "Liquor store near HM. Could you get a bottle before it closes at 6? I hung up. This request presented Marion with a real dilemma. If she was in cabin Q8 with her lover, she would have to make a quick trip to the nearest liquor store, wasting over an hour with him, or ignore my request and accept the expected scandal at home. She chose scandal. Obviously, she preferred to stay with her lover, wherever they were and whatever they were doing, rather than rushing for my cognac. Returning home without a bottle, she simply said, "Sorry, but I was in HM so long that the liquor store closed." "Nonsense," I answered. "What did you buy at HM for so long? Can I see the receipt?" Now she realized that she had been caught in a lie and shouted, "I paid for things from my own money. Why should I show you the receipt if I still have it?" "Because the time of purchase is indicated on the receipt," I said. "You know that a receipt is needed to return defective items. You damn lying bitch. You just didn't want to do such a small thing for me." She seized on my last sentence as an opportunity to escape the problem and said, "It was stupid to expect services from me after this morning you accused me of being a woman of easy virtue." I smiled and asked, "Did your lover also think you looked sexy in this new black lace outfit? If you really are hanging around with some lover, remember, in our marriage, cheating is equal to divorce." This remark provoked the most furious stream of curses I have ever heard. I can't deny that I was impressed by how skillfully Marion portrayed outrage. Even her ability to swear made a deep impression on me. The evening in our house passed in an extremely tense atmosphere. Although it was obvious that Marion was hiding something behind my back, I still needed to find out what exactly she was doing, where, and with whom. The most important source of information may have been her cell phone. We had the same phone models and charged them in the kitchen. At night, I got up, found her phone on the charger, and swapped it with mine. The next morning, Marion left for work without arguing. As soon as she left, I started checking her phone. There was only one short message. "I'll send you a photo soon. I'm waiting for your opinion." It came from a number I didn't recognize. Her phone book only contained the names of her best friends. Searching for the number on the internet turned up nothing. Apparently, it was a prepaid card number. However, I was unexpectedly lucky. I received a notification. It was a photo, clearly taken yesterday, in which Marion was wearing her new black sexy lingerie. It was sent by the same number. The caption under the photo read, "Honey, you're gorgeous." Although the sender did not indicate his name, I now knew exactly who it was. The photo was of high artistic and technical quality. I only knew one person who could take a picture of this level. It could only be Oliver Erickson, the husband of Rebecca Erickson, one of Marion's best friends since childhood. Oliver was known for his photographic abilities and once, quite drunk in a pub, boasted of an almost identical photo of his colleague. I never really liked Oliver because of his boastfulness. It was now obvious that he was probably laughing behind my back every time he slept with Marion, who is, of course, much more attractive than his wife. But why did Marion allow herself to be seduced by this narcissistic braggart? There was a month and a half left until Christmas and New Year, and I decided to keep calm for now. I didn't mean to start a fight with Oliver. This did not mean that he would escape punishment. The day turned out to be busy for me. First, I transferred Mariana's photo to my laptop. I must admit, she looked much younger and very sexy. That bastard Oliver really did his job professionally. But the fact that there was an obvious satisfied smile on Marion's face indicated that the photo was taken after they had sex, and this increased my rage. My next task was more difficult. It took several calls to get everything organized for Oliver's punishment on Monday. Being a local resident, I knew enough people to find the right contacts and was confident that the result was worth it, despite the rather high price. As I expected, Marion was not thrilled to come home with my phone. She got even angrier when I yelled at her for allegedly accidentally picking up the wrong phone. I deleted the photo from her phone, which may have confused them when Oliver asked about the photo. However, I didn't say anything, and they probably assumed there was some kind of glitch in the shipment. The first part of my revenge took place on Monday. While Oliver and Rebecca were at work and their children were at school, a tractor and trailer loaded with 3 tons of manure unloaded it on their front lawn. The weather was above freezing, so the terrible smell soon spread throughout the area. A sign stuck into the pile read, "Manure for sale." The neighbors were not happy. I can imagine an angry Oliver calling the police and how his call likely ended in an argument with the police saying they didn't consider his free pile of manure to be a serious crime requiring immediate attention. While reading the local paper at breakfast on Wednesday, I saw a large photograph of Oliver standing next to the manure for sale sign in front of his property. As expected, he complained to the police, who only offered to fill out a report and promised to look into the situation in the future. I started laughing out loud. Mariana asked, "What made you so happy?" "A donkey businessman selling manure," I answered. "This is something new. Now we can safely say the man is in his place." Marian took the newspaper and looked at the photograph. For some reason, she didn't share my fun. Instead, she blushed and shouted, "You're crazy if you think this is funny. Don't you have a sense of humor anymore? Dung and a donkey is funny, a real joke. Rebecca is one of my best friends. How can you bastard, laugh at her serious problem?" Now I also shouted, "Is it my fault that poor Rebecca married that idiot Oliver? Is it my fault? She must be jealous of you because you are married to a real man." I don't think Marian agreed. She left the table without answering, and it seemed to me that my wife didn't particularly like me at the moment. My comments about Oliver clearly didn't add any points to me in her eyes. Then Marian fell ill with the flu, and all thoughts of sex were ruled out for 2 weeks. I used this time to look through her car for evidence of her cheating with Oliver, but found nothing. So I bought a new mini voice recorder with sound activation and hid it in her car. When Marian recovered, neither of us made any attempts to establish an intimate relationship. In fact, we haven't had sex since the weekend before her November shopping spree. Meanwhile, her December shopping with Lena was approaching. Although I accused her of cheating during the November campaign, she seemed so taken with Oliver that she decided to take the risk again. As expected, that day we had an argument in the morning when I told Marian that I was going to the dentist and therefore would leave the house a little later than usual. She accused me of wanting to spy on what kind of underwear she would choose for her shopping. When I confirmed that it would be nice to see her dressed less sexy for this weird shopping trip or something, she got even angrier. After lunch, I called her 10 minutes before the end of her working day and told her that I wouldn't be home that evening. I added that her mother promised to come and cook dinner for our children. As I expected, she immediately flared up. "What the hell are you going to do this evening?" "It's a very important matter, my dear," I replied. "My friends have heard rumors that your manure-selling buddy Oliver Erickson is going to have sex with one of his prostitutes in a house on Q8. We're going to watch Oliver and this little house. I think Rebecca will be glad to get rid of him once we get him with the evidence." As I expected, my mission did not please Marian at all. She screamed, "Oliver is my friend. He is a friend of our family. You're crazy if you're going to humiliate our friend like that. Speak for yourself," I retorted. "That idiot was never my friend. You've always hated cheaters. Why do you suddenly have the opposite opinion about this idiot?" Her voice was filled with rage as she replied, "I always hate cheaters, never doubt that. But I know how much Rebecca and Oliver love each other, and that's why I believe them, not the rumors from your stupid friends." What a lying bitch. I had no intention of following Oliver that evening. My entire mission was a deception to scare Marian into canceling her appointment with him, at least for that evening, and possibly for the whole of December. But I still wondered what she would do if the evening with Oliver was ruined. My call did its job. The prospect of spying on Oliver made Marian completely lose interest in the important December shopping with Lena. I followed her car from work to our house. I parked my car on the street, a little distance away, walked up to her car, opened it with the spare key, and took out the hidden recorder. Then I went to the parking lot to listen to the tapes. The first file turned out to be an ordinary recording where Marian was giving a ride home to a colleague. There was nothing interesting there, but the next file was much more exciting. She called Oliver apparently as soon as she got into the car, a few minutes after I called her. Marian sounded very worried. "Hey, honey, we have to cancel our meeting today because some of Mick's friends found out that you are renting cottage Q8. and they were curious about who you were meeting there. They're watching you and the cottage right now. Yes, even Mick is involved in the surveillance. He called me and said he would be late. Yes, Mick accused me of cheating on our last date, but he will never think, what is this with you? No, he will never in his life suspect that we are having an affair. Most likely, some girl from your work would be better suited for him. No, Oliver. No, Oliver. No, we can't do that. No. Now there's no way. Refusing to buy the damn brandy for Nick was a huge mistake. He realized that I lied about the purchases. Now he suspects me and is looking for evidence. I can't afford to look suspicious again. I was a complete fool for agreeing to see you today. I'm going straight home. No, Oliver, no way until January. See you at our New Year's party. No, 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 don't even think about anything at my house. No, no, no. Yes, Oliver, I love you too. After Oliver, she called Lena. Hello, Lena. I have to miss my date with Oliver today. Some of Mick's friends heard rumors about Oliver and will be keeping an eye on him in the evening. Yes, even himself, he called me and said that he would be late. No, we'll wait until January, maybe longer. We'll talk later. Bye. What a shameless bitch. That was all I needed to know. Until now, I suspected Oliver and even punished him without any real evidence, but now I knew for sure and had all the evidence I could need. The next step was to find a final solution. An hour later, returning home, I asked Mariana, "Are you home already? It's strange that you and Lena were able to finish shopping at the mall so quickly just before Christmas." She replied, "It would be better if you and I went shopping for Christmas gifts together on Saturday. Have you returned early from your moral mission? That cheating bastard Oliver seems to have canceled his date. Someone must have warned him. Did you do this to save poor Rebecca from scandal?" She turned as white as ash before screaming, "Don't even dare think that I'm involved in your dirty tricks." A new look at the bills in Marian's file revealed that her wrong day shopping had been going on since November last year, with the only exception being July due to our summer holiday. Marian had cheated on me at least 12 times, and it was now obvious that their November date was the anniversary of their affair. This explained why Marian had dressed especially sexy for him that day. As far as I could find out, she didn't wear anything like that for their canceled December date. One canceled date didn't change anything in her favor. 12 infidelities are 12 times more than a sane husband can bear. All my love for Marian disappeared like smoke. The next morning, I decided to teach this spare Lena a lesson and sent a postcard with a picture of the best hotel in the city to her husband at work with the text, "Your wife is cheating on you in this building." Although it was a lie, such a message was bound to cause problems in their marriage. Christmas passed without quarrels and without sex between me and Marian, but I saw that she was not very happy since I bought her much cheaper gifts than usual. And finally, the moment came for the New Year's Eve party, which Marian and I hosted at our home. We did a lot of work preparing the house, moving excess furniture into the garage to make room for dancing. I even built a temporary bar for the event, well stocked with imported alcohol from Germany. I stayed behind the bar as the guests began to arrive and greeted them with exquisite cocktails, different for men and women. Rebecca and Oliver also came and got their drinks, with a slight difference for Oliver, whose cocktail I added something special to that took a lot of effort. To my great delight, everything went exactly according to plan. As I expected, Oliver managed to drink a little before the party and did not refuse any of the drinks offered during dinner. The combination of my special cocktail and the alcohol he drank made him feel very tired. Marian suggested that he rest in our guest room for a while, and even Rebecca agreed that it was a good idea. Rebecca and I helped him to his room and laid him on the bed. When I was able to sneak into the guest room, Oliver was fast asleep. Although I'm not a beer drinker, I drank a few bottles and filled my bladder to capacity, and it gave me great relief to empty it onto the sleeping Oliver from the waist down, so that it looked like his own blunder. No one saw me enter or leave the room. After a while, I asked Rebecca how Oliver was feeling. When she said she hadn't checked on him, We went into the guest room together. The smell of urine hit our noses as soon as we opened the door, and Rebecca began screaming in frustration. I quickly returned to the guests and shouted loudly to Marion, "That damn Oliver wet his pants and ruined the bed." All our guests heard this, and many went to see what Oliver had done. One thing was for sure: this scandal will remain in the memory for a long time and will follow him. At first, Marion demanded that I take Oliver home, but my simple answer, "No way in the world would I touch that bastard," made her calm down. One of my guests, who was sober, took pity on him and took Oliver home, wrapped in an old blanket, accompanied by Rebecca and Marion. The others continued the party, and now we had a new topic for jokes and laughter, because Oliver was far from the most popular among the men. To everyone's surprise, Rebecca returned back to the party with Marion. The party continued, and during the toast to the new year, all the couples, except Marion and I, kissed. She felt humiliated and asked me, "Why didn't you kiss me?" "Why, we're married, aren't we? This is not a reason for a kiss." The others began to listen to our conversation. Marion replied, "If you love me, the first thing you should have done was kiss me on New Year's Day." She turned pale and looked shocked when I replied, "We have more important issues to resolve." Marion rushed to the kitchen to cook herself something stronger. Those of the guests who heard our argument looked at me, expecting an explanation, but I said nothing. Instead, I walked up to Lena and took her to a quiet corner, where I asked, "You and Marion missed your monthly shopping in December. Why?" She looked at me strangely and answered, "Don't ask me, ask Marion. She called and canceled them." I said, "That's true, but could you tell me if you went on these purchases at all? Judging by the credit cards, there were no purchases these days. All her purchases were made 1 or 2 days before these evenings." "Why?" Lena got angry and shouted, "Why are you asking me? Why don't you ask your wife if it's so important for you to know about her purchases? Marion always told me that you go shopping together, and you obviously know nothing about it. I think both Marion and you have some explaining to do." Then Lena's husband came up and asked her, "What the hell were you doing on those fake shopping trips? Slept with some scoundrel at the Grand Hotel." Undoubtedly, my postcard to Lena's husband caused a quarrel between them, because she began to cry and, sobbing, said, "I never went anywhere with Marion. I only served as a kind of alibi for her. What she did was her business, not mine." Lena's husband was a smart enough man and knew that if I forced his wife to tell me about Marion's affair, Marion would repay him by telling him about Lena's possible infidelities. So he asked again, "Who is this man?" She answered, sobbing, "I don't know." Now Lena's husband got angry and shouted, "Don't even think about lying." "Who?" Lena gave up and said, "Oliver Erickson." I pretended to be surprised and shouted, "This damn wet coward, what a terrible taste." Lena didn't want to see either Marion or Rebecca again, so she and her husband left the party, and I returned to my bar, and it was easy for Marion to avoid me until the nightly cocktail was served. We drank it together without saying a word. When the last guest left, the moment of truth arrived that we had both been waiting for. Marion started first, asking, "You didn't want to kiss me. May I know why and since when? You should have known long ago, at least since last year, that the day of reckoning would come sooner or later." It pains me to say this, but today Lena told me the truth about what I've suspected ever since I got the flu and saw how sexy you dressed for your date with your lover. Mariana turned pale and asked, "I didn't notice that Lena was drunk enough to tell you her fantasies." "What did she tell you?" "I'm sure she told me the truth. Your monthly purchases are a cover for meetings with your lover in Cottage Q8. Now Marion looked worried, but not yet ready to give up. She asked, "Can you tell me the name of this non-existent ghost lover?" "Yes, I can. This was the most disgusting discovery. Lena said your lover is the wet coward Oliver Erickson, and her confession confirms what I suspected." Marion shouted, "That damn cheater told you. Did she tell you about her lovers? Did you mention Ralph Norman, the old hockey player?" Then she ran into the bedroom. I followed her and shouted, "Cheater, get out of this room. From now on, you will sleep in the guest room." She objected. "There's a wet bed there." I replied, "It's not my fault that your lover is a wet coward. It's your problem, not mine." Marion refused to leave, but I pushed her out of the bedroom, set the alarm for 8 in the morning, and went to bed. Despite the terrible headache, I forced myself to get up and make strong coffee in the kitchen. That damn Oliver had ruined my once happy marriage, and now he was going to get his comeuppance. I called their home phone number, and luckily Rebecca answered. I told her that after she left the party, Lena admitted to me that Marion and her husband had a year-long affair, and now even Marion has confirmed it. I then called Lena's husband and told him that Marion had become furious when I told her that Lena had discovered her affair with Oliver and had started screaming about Lena's affair with a former hockey player named Ralph Norman. Of course, this was not entirely fair to Lena, but she played an active role in the destruction of my marriage. I later learned that after Lena's confession, her husband immediately went to Ralph Norman and brutally beat him right in his home. When Marion came into the kitchen, she realized that her marriage, and possibly her affair with Oliver, was over. I asked, "Was the sex really so bad at our house that you needed a bonus on the side? Do you love that bastard Oliver Erickson so much that sleeping with him once a month was more important than your marriage?" Marion sobbed. "I don't like him. It was just sex, something of a bonus that fueled my love for you. You are my true love and always will be. With him, it was only sex. If Rebecca is smart enough to leave that cheater, you get your bonus. Forgive me for my stupid mistake. I beg you to forgive me. I never stopped loving you. You are my true love, only you. It was just some kind of excitement, not real love. Please forgive me, and let's continue to live as a family." "How long did this so-called bonus sex last?" I asked. "I only met him 3 times, and we didn't have sex on our first date, so only 2 times. And in December you canceled our date," she replied. "How deceitful she is," I said. "You fell for my trick when you canceled your shopping because I called you about Oliver, and you had already done your shopping a few days before. You might have been able to save our marriage even if you had given up on that November date when your sexy new lingerie raised my worst suspicions. The request for brandy was a simple trap. I assumed that you and that bastard were celebrating an anniversary that was more important to you than saving our marriage." I continued. "I checked your credit card statements for a whole year of all your and Lena's monthly purchases. The only expense these days is refueling at a Q8 gas station outside the city. That means your claim about 2 dates is a blatant lie, doesn't it?" I added, "I am 100% sure that you met at least 12 times from November to November. Cheating alone is enough to destroy our marriage, so I'm not going to count the exact number. But it would be interesting to know how, when and why your betrayal began." Marion was silent, then burst into tears and ran into the guest room. She actually admitted to cheating on her without even knowing that I knew the records of her phone conversations and the photos that Oliver sent her. It's better for me that she thinks that I learned the main information from Lena at the party. Both Rebecca and Lena called Marion during New Year's Day, and it was not difficult to guess that these calls put an end to their long-standing friendship with Marion. Although I was the one who made Marion's affair with the wet coward public, it left me with only one choice: to avoid being the object of ridicule myself, and without hesitation to file for divorce on the first working day of the new year. Marion never told me the real reason for her betrayal or how and when it began. The year after the New Year's party became a real nightmare for me. Although Marion tried repeatedly to save our marriage, our divorce became final in July. She refused to answer all my questions about her affair with Oliver, and most of it will remain an unsolved mystery to me. To everyone's surprise, Marion and Oliver's affair caused something of a divorce epidemic, as their infidelity led to 4 divorces: Marion's and mine, Rebecca's and Oliver's, Lena's and her husband's, and Ralph Norman's and his trophy wife. Rebecca, having somehow kicked Oliver out of the house, wasted no time and soon began dating her boss, whom she married in August. There were rumors that Oliver suspected Rebecca was cheating on him long before their divorce and cited this as the reason for his affair with Marion, but he never found any evidence. When Marion realized that it was not possible to cancel our divorce, she accepted it. With the help of relatives and friends, I bought her share in our house. She bought an apartment with this money, and she and Oliver moved there together, but their relationship did not last long, just over a month, after which the couple broke up. After a huge argument, Oliver left, and his reputation as a bedwetter forced him to leave town. Marion and I have established joint custody of our children. They still live in my house, but sometimes they spend time at her place. The children say that Mom is not dating anyone anymore. But why should this bother me? I also didn't care what happened to Lena, her husband, lover Ralph, and his wife. I haven't dated anyone, at least until Christmas. To my great relief, I realized that there were enough single women out there who wouldn't say no to a guy like me when my occasional trips to singles bars resulted in a search for companionship. The truth was that I missed Marion terribly, but my humiliation at her betrayal would not allow me to take her back. One of my best friends convinced me to forget all the problems at home and spend Christmas and New Year in Thailand with his cousin, who, after breaking up with his girlfriend, had an open ticket on a charter flight. Since Marion and I had already agreed that the children would spend the holidays with her this year, there was nothing stopping me from going, and I bought this ticket. The cousin turned out to be a cheerful person, and to our luck, on the second morning at the hotel, two divorced Belgian sisters were having breakfast at the same table with us. It was the best thing that happened to me all year because we spent the rest of our time in Thailand with these ladies. My companion, Monique, was 12 years older than me, but remained a slim and attractive woman. To my delight, she turned out to be the best lover of my life. When I returned home, I was completely satisfied, and now I missed the amazing sex with Monique more than I ever missed the intimacy with Marion. The problem was that I couldn't find a decent job in the French-speaking part of Belgium, where Monique ran her accounting business, and she couldn't do something similar in my country. The only thing left was to plan and look forward to a weekend in Belgium. However, these trips will most likely have to be canceled forever, because after I returned, a new neighbor moved into the house next door. She is a recently divorced, beautiful female lawyer, a little younger than me, with a daughter named Johanna, the same age as my daughter. The girls quickly became friends, and for practical reasons, I invited Johanna's mother, Madeline, for coffee. She turned out to be an easygoing and attractive woman, and I offered to help her with various household chores. This led to pleasant coffee breaks after each visit. I couldn't deny that I thought about her often, but I decided to move carefully and gradually to see if I was interested in her, or if she just saw me as some sort of jack of all trades. It soon became clear that she was making up some problems just to chat with me over coffee. Madeline must have been a truly high-quality wife to her ex-husband and is unlikely to be left alone for long after the divorce. But as a rule, modest men rarely get a chance to conquer such beautiful women. So one Friday, I called her at work and invited her to dinner. She politely declined, but suggested another idea, getting takeout from the new Greek restaurant and having dinner at her house with our kids. I agreed. This dinner was wonderful, almost like a family dinner, and became an important step in our rapprochement. After dinner, when the teenagers left us alone, Madeline and I opened a bottle of wine, sat on the sofa, and talked about our divorces and hopes for the future. Madeline said she broke up with her husband after he hit her a second time because she had seen too many similar situations in her professional life. She looked me straight in the eye and asked if I had ever hit my ex-wife. I answered honestly that I had never raised my hand against any woman, not even Marion after her infidelities. I then explained that my ex-wife had paid dearly for her actions: 4 divorces, the loss of her home, her husband, her lover, 2 best friends, and her reputation, which led to trouble with clingy boyfriends. After this, Madeline asked an unexpected question about my vacation in Thailand. Did I do something shameful there that I now regret? Of course, I understood what she meant, but I pretended that I didn't understand and asked, "Sorry, But I didn't catch your question. What are you talking about? She said directly. Don't pretend. I want to know the truth about the man who is inviting me to dinner. It is important for me to understand whether you paid for sex with women of easy virtue during that trip to Thailand. No, I didn't pay, I answered, but I don't deny that I had an affair with a divorced Belgian woman. She broke up with her husband because of his infidelity and at that time was free. Please remember that this happened when I was also single and not dating anyone here. Madeline clarified again. Are you planning to see this Belgian again? I answered honestly. Yes, we discussed this, but only if neither she nor I have any relationship. She smiled and asked, Are you dating someone now? I smiled back. I'm not sure, but I'm trying to win the attention of one wonderful woman, and while I have hope of success, I won't go anywhere or meet anyone else. Why is this date with me so important to you? You don't expect a dream night after the first meeting, do you? Because this could be the beginning of a happy dream or the end of that dream, I answered. She looked at me seriously and said, I would bet on the beginning, but we have a long way to go. After a short pause, she continued, Even though my divorce was a terrible experience, I also have a dream, to share life and love with a man who will love me. He must be honest and faithful, be accepted by my daughter, and I will always be honest and faithful to him. It surprises me that many men believe that a divorced woman's only desire is sex. Many people have already invited me on dates, even married men. But so far I've said no to everyone except two. The first date was a disaster. You, Mick, are the second one who interested me. But we need to get to know each other better before making decisions about the future. However, I can't deny that one of your big advantages is that Johanna has become attached to you, and I really like Jessica and Melvin. Shall we agree to be honest and faithful at this stage and try to get to know each other and the children better before making promises about a future together? I agreed without objection. Missing a stunning weekend in Belgium for the chance of a serious relationship with Madeline was a small sacrifice, even if intimacy with her would have to be put on hold. I knew people who had successfully created happy families from two broken ones, and I believed that Madeline and I could do it too, if we wanted it. After some time, Madeline and I started having problems. She said that she wanted to watch a famous show that was shown in one of the city's restaurants. Buy tickets for it were sold out long before it started. I saw this as my chance for a real date and promised to get her tickets. Thanks to my connections, I was able to get 2 tickets for crazy money on the black market seats almost right next to the stage. Happy as a teenager on a first date, I called Madeline at work and told her the good news, but to my disappointment, she was not happy. She said, Sorry, but one of my colleagues already invited me, and I agreed. It's a pity. I had nothing to say except, There is nothing to regret. You are an adult, and you can do what you want. Have a nice evening. I didn't want to discuss tickets with her and didn't even know what to do with them next. But 10 minutes later, Madeline called again and said that one of her colleagues was desperately looking for 2 tickets to this show and was ready to pay good money for them. Obviously, they were going to go together in pairs with her colleagues, but why humiliate me with such a call? Did she think I would be her backup? I tried to be polite and replied, Sorry, but I only have 2 tickets, and I need them. Then a thought occurred to me. I needed to discuss something with Marion about children, and to my surprise, she happily agreed to join me on the show, noting that a positive atmosphere would benefit our conversation. When I picked up Mariana, she surprised me with her stunning appearance. Elegant dress, makeup, hairstyle. She looked great and clearly wanted to remind me of what I had lost since the divorce. At the show, we met several acquaintances, exchanged a few words with them, and I noticed Madeline with some bald man, 10 years older than me. Without a doubt, she saw us. To my surprise, Madeline and her companion were sitting very close to Marion and me. She smiled as she passed, but did not stop to say hello or introduce her companion. Marion and I spent a pleasant evening. We agreed on important issues about the children and enjoyed an amazing show. I have to admit that when we said goodbye in the taxi outside her house, I had mixed feelings. At that moment, I missed her terribly and began to doubt whether Madeline was worth my efforts. Madeline and her companion left before us, and as far as I could see, their evening did not look particularly successful, more like a funeral than a romantic date. Already at 10 in the morning the next day, Madeline called and unexpectedly suggested meeting for lunch. We met in a small restaurant, and as soon as we sat down, she asked, "You probably had a good time on your date yesterday." "I had a nice time, but it wasn't a date," I replied. Unfortunately, my first choice preferred the company of the bald man, whom she seems to like better. "Is this what you think?" she asked. "What else should I think? How many times have I tried to ask you out? Is this bald guy your boyfriend?" "No, not at all," she replied. "I'm helping him with one big thing. Yesterday, it was part of teamwork. What about your pretty companion? New girl?" I couldn't help laughing and said, "More like an old wife than a new girl." It was Marion, and I'm glad that we were able to resolve several issues about children. Madeline looked satisfied with my answer. After some time, she announced that she was having dinner with an important client on Friday evening and asked permission to leave Johanna with us. Johanna is a great friend for Jessica, and I never blame my children's friends for the actions of their parents, I replied. So, of course, she will always be a welcome guest with us. Then I asked, "Friday evening is a strange time for business meetings. Is this bald guy going to host the dinner? If it's in a public place, it's hardly a secret who exactly this important client is who requires such a special approach." Madeline replied, "The dinner was organized by Kenneth, my boss, but he has to leave town for family reasons, so I will be hosting this client, Alex Linden, instead. He is having problems in our city and needs a local lawyer to represent him. He is quite a nice person. I even had lunch with him yesterday." I looked at her silently for a few seconds and noticed concern in her gaze. Then I said, "Of course, he is charming and extremely convincing, as is often the case with psychopaths. You'll probably think I'm a jealous jerk and a bad loser, but I have to tell the truth. If you still think your ex-husband is an abuser, then he is a saint compared to this Alex. As a local resident, I've heard a lot about it. Alex and his gang play hardcore games, including whips and group parties. You must be very careful not to end up in a dangerous situation." I continued, "If your bald friend won't tell you the truth about Alex and still sends you into this situation, he's either hiding something or he's involved in dirty deeds himself. Here's the phone number of a police officer I know well. Call him if you feel something is wrong." Now her face turned gray as I continued, "Your friend Alex has ruined the lives of many women, but remains unpunished due to the weaknesses and holes in our legal system. A beautiful lawyer turned into the hostess of a disgusting sex party would be a real trophy for him. I bet the dinner is at the Grand Hotel, and he's already booked a room for tomorrow night. If the champagne at dinner makes you so crazy that you go up to his room, I'm sure the room will be well stocked with illicit drugs or alcohol, and you will either be seduced or forced to submit to his demands, both at that moment and at subsequent events. He is a very rich, experienced man who will be extremely charming and persuasive, but please remember, shit is still shit, even if it's wrapped in an Armani suit and adorned with expensive gold Rolexes." Her face remained gray as she asked, "Mick, are you jealous?" "No, because you are a grown girl and are free to choose what you do, and only you can decide whether the shine of a gold Rolex and Ferrari is worth the consequences. However, it is my duty to tell you the hard truth, and please don't ever blame me when things happen the way I said they would. I don't care if my warnings make you think I'm a nasty gossip and avoid communicating with me." We separated after a few minutes, and I had a strong feeling that my love story with Madeline was over before it had truly begun. On Friday evening, Johanna came to my house, and first she went to Jessica's room for a while. Around 8:30, I saw a red Ferrari on the street near Madeline's house as I expected. I felt bad, but I decided not to show it to the kids for the evening. Johanna bought new cards for her game Trivial Pursuit and brought them along for Friday's fun. We decided to play it as teams, Johanna and Jessica against Melvin and me. The game was a lot of fun, and neither Johanna nor I said a word about Madeline. Around 9:30, Johanna received a call on her mobile phone. As she answered the phone next to us at the table, I heard her say, "Are you? Is someone with you? You are alone. Are you okay? We're playing TP with my new cards. Lots of fun. I'll be there as soon as we're done. See you." Then she said, Mom returned from dinner. Neither of us commented on this, and the game continued for about an hour before Johanna went home. The next day, Saturday morning, the phone rang at 10 o'clock. To my surprise, it was Madeline who invited me to dinner at her home that evening and asked if I could ask Marion to leave my children for the night because dinner might take a little longer if we decided to work out all our problems. Johanna was supposed to go to her father on Saturday and stay the night with him. This question seemed very strange to me, but I agreed and called Marion, who accepted my request. At exactly 7 o'clock, I rang Madeline's doorbell. She was dressed in a short black dress, with a beautiful hairstyle and light makeup, a stunningly beautiful woman. I gave her a large red rose and received a hug before she invited me to sit in the living room where she treated me to a fancy drink. The drink reminded me of one I once offered to my ex-wife's lover at a New Year's party. Madeline noticed something in my gaze, so she smiled and said, "Don't be afraid, it's not mixed in." "Of course not, but could you explain why you invited me? The only thing that comes to mind is last dinner with a stupid neighbor." She smiled brightly again before answering, "No, not at all like that. The evening begins with a tasting of my cuisine, and if you survive this, we can talk later." This came as a big surprise to me, and I couldn't resist asking, "Did you cook it yourself?" She did a great job in the kitchen. Both the starter and main course were delicious, and the wine chosen was perfect. We limited our conversation to pleasant chat, and I was truly surprised by Madeline's culinary talents, complimenting her more than once. When it was time for dessert, she blindfolded me, took my hand, and asked me to follow her for the surprise. When she removed the bandage, we found ourselves in her darkened bedroom, where red satin sheets lay on the bed. Madeline took off her dress and bra and stood in front of me in only black lace panties and stockings. She looked incredibly sexy and said in a low voice, "I love you very much and I want to be your dessert. I promise to do everything for you, but please don't hurt me." I whispered in her ear, "I love you, Madeline." She answered in a quiet voice, "I love you, Michael. Do you want to marry me?" Any doubt would be a big mistake, so I immediately replied, "Yes, Madeline, yes, I want to." We made love. Later, she hugged me tightly and said that it was one of the happiest days of her life, and the sex we had was the first time she had had since breaking up with her ex-husband. She admitted that the only protection she was counting on was the morning after pill the next day and asked if I was willing to accept the consequences if things went wrong. I promised I was ready and received a long kiss as a reward. When I told her that her marriage proposal was a happy surprise because I expected that I would become history after her date with the big boys and after my jealous gossip about her friend Alex, Madeline hugged me tightly. She held me in her arms for a long time before she told me that when she saw me with that beautiful woman at the exhibition, she knew it was time to act. Otherwise, someone else might get me. She then admitted that she had been concerned about my warnings about Alex and had done some research into both him and her boss, Kenneth. Some of the information I told her turned out to be true. She even had a short meeting with a police officer friend of mine who advised her to stay away from both of these men. As I said, Alex came to pick her up in a red Ferrari, wearing an Armani suit and a gold Rolex. This made her ask him if such bad taste really impressed women. She refused to drink anything other than mineral water so that he could not put something suspicious in her glass. Using all her knowledge of cross-examination during their conversation, she was able to obtain information that Alex and Kenneth had long been friends in some private matters. When she asked about the case, Alex said that all the documents were in his room and they could go up there after dinner. To her great surprise, when she suggested replacing the drink with something else, he replied, Yes, of course, I have everything you need for a good evening. After dinner, she told him that she was already overworked for Friday and suggested that they meet at the office on Monday morning, since she never meets clients in hotel rooms. He got angry, called her stupid, and said she deserved a memorable lesson on how to deal with important clients like him. She recorded the entire conversation and already managed to call the senior boss of the law firm where she worked. Kenneth had not warned her about Alex's reputation, and she and her boss had several issues that needed to be cleared up on Monday morning. After that, we moved on to more important issues such as engagement, wedding, and choosing a place to live, buy a house or build one. We easily came to an agreement on most issues, which was cemented by excellent sex. After morning sex, we got up for breakfast. When all three children returned home, we had lunch together and announced to them our plans for the future. To everyone's delight, the children were happy with our new family union. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think. Click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one.